Thank you, Marla. That was actually a very appropriate intro for somebody they call the yogi lawyer. So I felt that really set me into what I want to speak to you about today. So we could be practicing any areas of law, litigation, immigration, corporate real estate. For myself, I'm a real estate corporate lawyer, so I'm very familiar with stress and deadlines and what our job entails. But we all can relate to it in whatever field we are in. At the end of the day, our jobs are very stressful. Let's not kid ourselves. Law is stressful. We have demands from our clients. We have demands from our staff. We have demands from life, and we have to try to balance that all at the same time. I try to think of some hard numbers to come across as to what I experience on a daily, weekly, yearly basis. Work alone, I figure, looking at my email, I probably send about 30,000 emails in a year. That does include my personal stuff. Phone calls at the office, I figure I probably get about at least 50 a day minimum. And text messages are just obscene. Being in the real estate field, you've seen what's been going on in real estate. It is crazy times. It's been crazy for a long, long time. It's been going since 2007, 2008. And we've come to the point, we've never had 9-to-5 jobs, but with technology, we have the benefit of being able to be in the office but not be in the office. So we could be remote, we could be anywhere and still be connected, which is a good thing. But people expect immediate gratification. I find very often people, they will first email me. If they don't get immediate response, they're going to call me at the office. Many of them may have my cell phone. Then they're going to call my cell phone and they're going to text me. And I've explained to them, all your messages are coming the exact same way on my phone. I see you 1, 2, 3, 4 for all the mediums that you're using. And please just pick one of them. You don't have to overload me, but they need that instant gratification. And if they don't get that instant gratification, the worry is, are they going to go elsewhere? If you find that balance in life for yourself, chances are they will not go elsewhere. And if you give all you can and they will go elsewhere, guess what? They're going to find it's very hard to get that instant gratification elsewhere. So finding a way to balance our technology in our life, it's a challenge, it's stressful, but there is a way to do it. We're going to look for organization, routine, and balance. I'm like a mad chemist where I'm constantly balancing my technology that I'm using and how I'm going to center my life and my routine to see what works. Because at the end of the day, I know I'm going to take on a lot more, and being able to do it in a way that I can sleep at night, I can enjoy my life at the same time and not think about my work 24/7, it's a great benefit, I find. So in order to structure it from a technology life standpoint, the first thing I always point to is the work environment. This is where the danger zone is. I remember as an articling student coming to the senior partner's office on Bay Street, and they had these desks with these mountains of paperwork, files everywhere. One guy, I literally thought that his office was broken into. It was so bad. I said, how do you find anything? This is so stressful. And he says to me, son, you got to be busy. You got to have files. You got to be working all the time. If you got an empty desk, you're not obviously working hard enough. I didn't believe it then, and I certainly don't believe it now. As we're working into a paperless system, I have challenged people on that cluttering system. The ones that have those piles of files on their desk, I go back to their office 2 months later, it's the same piles. They haven't moved, not 1 inch of paper. All they've done is use their desk as a storage. And what happens is you got that cluttered desk, papers are going to shuffle into files, things are going to get lost, you're going to get stressed. I say, let's start it off cleanly. Let's pick the right desk, let's pick the right chair, let's pick our right technology. Keep it simple, keep it clean, keep it organized. An uncluttered desk, it really is an uncluttered mind. From when you have your desk set up, it's both at home and work. From there, you're going to need the hardware. The hardware is our lifeline, okay? That's what's going to funnel our software. And there's a lot of choices out there at the end of the day. I've tried everything under the sun, and I found for myself, I want less. I don't want more. I want to be able to do it in a way that's going to work best for me. Some people like to have a laptop, some like to have a desktop, some like to have both. For myself, at work, when I set myself up, I realized, you know what, dual monitors is saving me because I don't have to shuffle in and out of programs every 2 seconds. I can keep my Outlook going at all times and I can work on the other screen. Maybe it's going to be 3 screens for you. I'm not sure. Look at the hardware you're using. People are using these old ratty keyboards, mouses, and believe it or not, it's taken away from your time. Everything is taking extra time. They keep doing other things. When you're using the right technology for yourself, believe it or not, you're going to be more efficient, you're going to be quicker, you're going to be less stressed. Laptops. For myself, I decided I'm not going to go iPad. I'm going to carry around a laptop everywhere when I'm going to be remote. And I want a thin one, I want an easy one. But just having an external mouse, when I'm shuffling through heavy-duty documents, I'm cutting it through in a tenth of the time. When I'm using the trackpad, it's taking me so much time that I don't even want to use my laptop anymore. It's just little tweaks like that. At home, having a printer, having a scanner, a copier, for everybody it's going to be different. I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong way of doing it, but be conscientious of the type of technology that you're using. If you're not set up at home, what's going to happen is you're going to want to shuffle to the office more and more and more. You're going to feel guilty about leaving the office. When you realize you're setting yourself up at home the same way you're set up at the office, you can say to yourself, hey, you know what? I can leave at 3, 4 o'clock. I don't have to have guilt. Maybe I can go take my kids now to the mall. Maybe I can go catch a movie. Maybe I can go to yoga class. I can go to sleep. And I'm going to be able to be okay. I'm going to be able to get this stuff done at 7, 8 o'clock because it's like I'm in the office. But keep it simple. Keep the hardware that's going to work for you. And always keep water close by. No matter what hardware you're going to use, it's useless unless you have the right software. You have to consciously think, what do I need to run my life? This is the problem that I'm finding with a lot of lawyers that I work with. Everything is in here. Everything should be in there. It should be in your phone. It should be in your computer. This should be used to talking to people. This should be used for thinking when you're working. This should not be storing your appointments, your to-do lists, everything else in your life. When you start thinking about all those things that have to go on in your life and you're focusing on that, you're taking your time away from being productive, from actually working. You're adding to your stress unneedlessly. Calendar, the one I always point to, I can't imagine still how many people have a paper calendar on their desktop. I have a friend, we went to business school together. He's a head financial advisor on Bay Street. He has a paper calendar on his desk. When he goes for lunch, he has no idea what his calendar appointments are for the rest of the week. When he goes home on the weekend, he does not know his appointments. That's stress to me. I don't want that stress. When I'm at lunch, if somebody's putting something on my calendar and now I want to put a new appointment, I want to know in real time what my calendar is. It's really simple, but not everybody does it in this day and age, believe it or not. And to-do list, the same thing. A lot of people focus maybe even on calendar, but they forget about that to-do list, and I'll show the separation on that. On your calendar, figure out a system that works for you. I can only speak for myself of what's worked for me, and this is what I mentor people on as far as from a productivity organization standpoint, but you may find it a different way. I like having a differentiation of separation for both my personal and my work calendars. I don't want it cluttered. When I'm in the office and I'm looking at my work calendar, I don't want to see all my personal stuff. I want to see what's happening on my work. But on the same token, I don't want to forget what's going on in my personal life. I tried using, for example, Outlook for my work and Gmail for my personal. And what did I find? I'm never looking at my Gmail, I'm missing my personal appointments, and I'm double booking myself. That's not working for me. Then I realized, okay, you know what? I can do a split screen, use 2 calendars on Outlook so I can see them simultaneously when I'm at the office, so I'm not double booking myself, but on my phone, they come up as one calendar. This is fantastic. I can see what's happening in real time. Events, meetings. That's what should be in the calendar. That's it. Not to-dos. Create a separation. There's a point to it because I found when I was putting too many to-dos in my calendar, I'm missing appointments. I'm just not even paying attention to my calendar anymore. Too much clutter, you're not going to look at it. Know when people's birthdays are. Know when anniversaries are. Know when you're going to meetings. That's it. That's what your calendar is for. Get it out of your mind. In my opinion, if it's not in my calendar, I don't have to be there. I just don't care. I would literally schedule everything. I schedule when I go to the gym. When I come to work, I know what food I brought with me. I schedule when I eat. I put down to myself 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I know when I'm going to put the food into my system. It may sound silly, but we have a really bad addiction as lawyers. We are addicted to our work. I don't know if you noticed other colleagues, but they don't eat. It's now 11 o'clock in the morning and they have not touched a single piece of food. Why? Because they're taking meetings and they're taking appointments and they're taking phone calls and they just don't have time to eat. That's BS. There's always a time to eat. But if you have to get into a routine, you schedule for yourself. No, I'm going to have a piece of fruit at 10 o'clock. I'm going to have lunch at 12 o'clock. Believe it or not, writing it down makes you accountable to it. And keeping yourself nourished, keeping yourself going, your body's better for it and your mind's going to be better for it. Schedule your life. When picking, again, there's so many apps for it. For myself, I use different calendars at different times on my phone to see which works. I don't like the standard apps, but find a calendar that is nice and easy for you. You can enter in your information easily and makes life simple for you. For to-do lists, there's many of them out there. I generally don't recommend using the stock one. I like using something called Todoist. And what Todoist does, why I enjoy it, it bakes into every program that I have. So when I'm using Outlook, for example, I have my email, I have my calendar. I actually have my to-do list from Todoist in my Outlook at all times. I don't have to switch into a different program. It bakes into Gmail. Every app you can possibly think of, Todoist works. But there's millions of them. There's a milk one. There's all sorts of different names for them. But the point is, you have to find one that does work for you, that has good features. Because using the basic one, chances are you're not looking at it. You may look at it on your work calendar. You're certainly not going to look at it on your phone. There's different ways of accountability to it. And in order to use it from a stress-free standpoint, for myself, I like to have a number. I like to know how many to-dos I have at one point at a time. So when I go into my phone, it shows me right now I have 30 to-dos. That's too many. It means I've shuffled off a few things from different dates, and I have a lot going on today. That's not going to happen. At some point, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to look at my to-dos, I'm going to shuffle off a few things, I'm going to give myself 10, 15 things. I'm not going to burn myself out. I put literally my whole life in my to-do list. I use reoccurring events a lot. It may sound silly, taking out the garbage, when my bills are due, when my passport's up for renewal, when I got to go grocery shopping, when I got to pick up meds. Everything goes in the to-do list. Why? Because otherwise it's sitting in here. You know those 4 o'clock appointments, you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, okay, I got to get to the grocery store, and then I got to get to the pharmacy, and I got to go order my yoga mat, and the brain just keeps thinking and thinking and thinking. What you should be doing at that point, go into your to-do list, buy yoga mat tomorrow. Done. It's out of your brain now. What happens, I find, from a psychological standpoint, when it's somewhere, the brain is going to stop thinking about it because the brain feels secure. It's somewhere. It'll remind me. I don't have to worry about it. My greatest fear is the fear of forgetting something, missing something, right? The fear of missing out, they say. And without having it, all my to-dos in one place, I'm going to forget things. I'm going to get sidetracked. I'm going to get a phone call. I'm going to get a pop-in meeting. And all of a sudden, a week later, I'm going to realize, oh my God, I didn't buy this, I didn't buy that, and I didn't do this. I don't like that feeling at all. And that feeling can be avoided if I have all my to-dos in one place. So I heavily recommend spending the most amount of time, if there's anything to get today, in getting yourself set up from using technology to actually reduce your stress. Work on your calendar and work on your to-dos. From there, we've set ourselves up, okay? So we have a great work environment, we have our hardware, we have our software. This may seem very simple, very easy. Everybody should be doing it, but unfortunately, most of us don't. If you think about your morning today, how many times did you press the snooze button before you got out of bed? How soon did you drink a glass of water before you ate your breakfast? Did you eat breakfast? Did you exercise? Did you meditate? Did you walk? Any kind of activity before you started your day? The morning, the way you start your day is going to set the tone for your whole life day. I remember as a young kid, I was working at a parking garage and I was helping people get their cars in and out, going to different buildings. And I remember those people driving in. They had the coffee in one hand with the cigarette, and they're able to drink and smoke at the same time. And I thought that's quite a skill. But I remember their hands being so nervous and they're driving while doing this. And I said to myself, I don't want this for my life. But I see all of you. I see you sitting on the steps taking your break. And taking your break is having that cigarette saying, I need to relax. Is that really relaxing you? Or is that actually stressing you out more? I was thinking a lot of what Marla was saying as far as mindfulness and taking that break. I know in my own life routine, when I hit a point that I just can't handle this anymore, I can't handle this file and I can't handle this client and it's not ending and the phone calls aren't stopping and I just cannot be in this moment anymore, you know what I do? I shut the door, I turn off my computer and I turn off my phone, I go on my couch and I go lie down and I close my eyes. And I just sit and think about nothing. I don't care who's knocking at the door, I don't care what's going on, I'm going to take my time until I can focus myself. Fortunately, I don't have to do that very often, but it does come up. I find my way. Maybe for you, it's getting out of the office and going for a walk. But whatever it is, you got to develop that life routine to make your life simple. And it starts from morning, afternoon, and evening. So let's take an example of what a life routine could look like. So morning routine. This morning for myself, I woke up. The first thing I woke up out of bed, I said, hey, I'm glad to be alive. Awesome, let's do this. I went and I got myself my lemon water. Had my lemon water, felt pretty good from the lemon water. Waited a bit, had my turmeric, felt pretty good about that. Had my porridge, feeling really full now, this is good. Now let's go do some yoga. So I went off, did my hour of yoga. Took a shower, felt awesome, had a banana. Let's go talk at the OBA. That's already my morning. Most of my colleagues, I think, can barely get maybe a couple of days of exercise in if they're lucky because they can't find the time. Well, if you go to bed properly and you wake up properly, guess what? You can wake up anytime you want. I used to be a procrastinator that I used to snooze to the last 2 seconds if possible. I didn't care what it took. I would sometimes sleep in my clothes if I had to so I can get to the office just on that exact time. No more. I don't want that for my life. I want it to wake up. I want it to feel good every day. So you find your balance of it, but you'll notice on that list something very important. That device that can help us and a device that can hurt us. No technology yet. I do not wake up, I do not look at text messages, I do not look at emails. I have not answered a single email since I started my day already. I know my inbox was at 0 by the time I went to sleep last night. It can wait. This is my time. I wake up in the morning, I'm going to center, I'm going to focus. Get to the office. At the office, there's a conscientious decision. How often are we going to answer emails? How often are we going to answer phone calls? It's never going to end. There's never a right way because we all have different practices. For me, I have too many referral sources, clients. I need to answer them immediately. New clients, if I do not respond back with a certain amount of time, they're going to go to a different lawyer. I get it. My current clients, they need to be satisfied. They need to be happy that I'm responding back to them. I made the conscious decision. I'm going to answer emails as much as I go along. If I'm very busy, work on something, I'll answer them blocks of time. Phone calls, forget it. I'm not doing it anymore. Phone calls, they can leave a message. I can prepare for the phone call based on the message they say, and I will call them back. Otherwise, it is a waste of time. You are answering the phone, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, let me get that information from you. I will call you back. You've now made 2 phone calls. It is waste. If you can get that information and call them back with information, you've saved yourself a phone call. That saves time. So just think about it. What's going to work for you? Get that morning snack in. Drink your water. Keep a water bottle. There's apps for these things that they can remind you to hydrate yourself. It sounds silly, but you've gone 3, 5, 7 hours. You had 1 glass of water and you have 1 banana. You're not functioning properly. You're killing your body and you're killing your mind, and now you're overly stressed for no reason. Afternoon is no different. How often am I going to hold meetings? How often am I going to do my phone calls? When am I going to eat my lunch? Schedule the lunch. Be accountable for it. Step away from your desk. Go to the lunchroom. Go sit outside. Go sit wherever. And go spend 10 minutes eating lunch without answering emails. I've read so many studies on this. When we're shoveling food while doing our emails, our brain is not really acknowledging the food. We're not really getting full. We're kind of tricking our bodies. We need to give the body the time to eat, the same way the bed is for sleep. Give yourself, the body, what it needs. I like to check my to-dos throughout the day, just make sure I'm on par with everything so I haven't left myself too much. The key, as you're about to leave the office, always check that calendar, what's going on the next day. Check to make sure your to-dos, where are you at, reassign, answer your last calls and emails. Evening, simple. Start to wind down. This is not the time to start. I used to pull all-nighters all the time. I actually got a memo that we're not allowed to sleep in our office anymore because somebody down in New York worked 3 straight days and died from exhaustion. So I was pulling too many all-nighters because I want to get to yoga at 6 o'clock in the morning. So what's the point of leaving at 4 in the morning? I might as well just take a snooze in my office for a couple hours. It's not acceptable. There's enough time to do work during the day that at night you can have your dinner properly, you can do the dishes, you can do your errands, complete those last chores, do your emails, but decide what time we're powering down. We cannot connect 24/7. It's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. At some point, it has to come to an end. For myself, I found planning the clothes the night before, planning my lunch the next day, actually grabbing a book, not reading on my phone, it has made a night and day difference. Setting up the routine the night before sets up for a great morning ahead. Bottom line, decide when you want to communicate. When is it good for you? Find your balance. It doesn't have to be 24/7. On times, off times. Pick the times that work for you. But when you're on, be on. And when you're off, be off. There's nothing worse than when your kids come to you and tell you, oh, I'm talking to mommy and daddy, see? This is how I talk to mommy and daddy on the phone. I've seen too many lawyers in that, and it just breaks their heart. When you're with family, when you're with friends, give them that time. Don't sit at dinner with friends you haven't seen for 10 years and be on your phone 24/7, please. Notice that timing. Happy morning, a peaceful sleep. No technology when you wake up and no technology when you go to bed. Find that balance. I can't emphasize that enough. Weekends. Weekends can either energize you or weekends can kill you. You have to decide, am I going to work all weekend long? Am I going to wake up Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and really get through that work that I'm missing and do this right through Sunday night? Or am I going to pick one weekend day where I'm going to go to Wonderland, I'm going to go to the mall, I'm going to take a drive to Montreal, whatever it is? What do I want to do with my time? Technology can be with us throughout that weekend, or we can say, hey, technology, you're going to help me for a part of this, but I need to leave you alone now. I need to schedule some fun. When you find that happy balance at the end of the day, believe it or not, you're going to be a happier person. You're going to be more productive. You're going to take on more than you ever taken on. I know for myself, I looked at my numbers last year. I closed hundreds of deals. I closed probably about 3 times more than I thought I was capable of. I worked harder than I ever did, and I was happier than I ever was because I found that life routine. Because I wasn't sitting in front of the TV for 5 hours. Because I wasn't pressing that snooze button. I did what I had to do. I embraced the technology that was able to work for me against me. Now we're going to take a short time for questions, both here and online. So if anybody has any questions for myself or Marla, please go ahead. Everybody's good. Everybody's mindful.
Yeah.
Oh.
We can hear you. Oh, right.
Well, I work in an office with 15 other people, and the one thing I didn't hear the two of you talk about is how you manage the distractions and the interruptions from others. Because we've tried to do this, but I don't think we've been very successful with it in our office. And the other thing is that I've noticed, because I'm now 57 years old, that, and I know because I work in the field of aging, that it's a very normal thing as you age that you need more time to focus on things, fewer distractions. So, how do you layer in all these other people who have needs that need to be met in terms of information and talking to you and things like that over the course of a day? And how also do you manage the different stages we're all at in our lives and what our needs are in terms of our working style from that point of view?
I can start. Listening to your question, that's a great point. Thank you. I thought about it a little bit. That's because I focused what I was going to speak on as far as from technology and how technology and finding on, off, and stress levels. But you bring up an interesting point from a general stress point. There's a few layers to it that comes to my mind. Firstly, it's how are we going to set up our workspace? That's really important. Are you in cubicles? Are you in your separate offices? Desks set up? That from the beginning right away sets a tone, I would say, is from a separation or togetherness. There's a big trend for downtown Toronto for this big open space, big open concept. But good luck in getting any work done in some respects of it. So setting up an office that works for you, first of all, is one point. Then from there, it's the types of technologies that you guys are using for sharing. So I know there's from emails, there's sort of texting that can be done through group chats and everything else. And there's just general day-to-day communication, people popping into offices, people doing phone calls. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to setting boundaries. When I know I have to work on X and Y, when I know that I need to get certain thing done, the phone goes on the not disturb. If the emails get shut off, the email gets shut off. Speaking to colleagues, it's not easy and you don't want to offend people, but sometimes they're understanding. There are times where I'm open, my door is open. If my door is closed, to respect that. I think boundary issues are very big, because otherwise what happens is in a firm of 15 people or 150 people, we're just chatting and shooting the shit all day, and what happens is we're not actually getting any work done. We've talked about what happened on The Bachelor, we're talking about our car breaking down, and all of a sudden nothing happened. You know what? You want to talk about that? Get to work an hour early, get the coffee going at 7 o'clock. You guys can talk about all you need to talk about. At 8 o'clock, it's time for work. If we're going to start doing that at 9 o'clock, we haven't gotten anything done until 11 o'clock. That's a conscientious decision. And then from there, it's going to feed into having to catch up later on at night. So it's setting time priorities and boundaries, I think.
I was going to jump in and start talking about boundaries, and then Jonathan went there. So in a session that I do on communication, that really is the piece that we talk about around those situations is it can take some time, but setting those boundaries to say when I'm interruptible, when I'm not. With different ages in the workplace, you spoke to that. People are different and able to work differently. So you have to go with partly the culture of the organization and partly what's comfortable for you. And I think it is all about boundaries and being able to articulate, communicate clearly those boundaries.
And I would throw in even, it's not just work, it's also personal, because how often do we have a major deadline, we have a case to prepare for, we have a brief to prepare, and our spouse wants to know what we're going to have for dinner the next day, or what trip we should be planning for next vacation, and saying, I'm on a bit of a tight deadline, please. So it's being able to set boundaries in all capacities of life. It's not easy, you don't want to offend people, but doing it gently, they will respect that, I believe.
Sometimes you're working on something where a document is coming to you that you'll then have to review perhaps quickly. What strategy can you suggest when you don't have control over when it's going to arrive and it hasn't come by 3 o'clock Friday, and you set to power down over the weekend as much as possible, but for all you know, it's going to arrive in the middle of the day you've chosen not to work?
Very, very good point. I would say there's 2 levels to that. Number one is the document that is expected but late, and the document that just shows up out of the blue. So common for me, I get real estate agents sending me status certificates all the time saying we got to put an offer in our condo, hot market, they're taking offers tonight, and we got to review the status certificate ahead of time. So I'm sending it to you now. Can you have it to me for me in a couple hours? I think it functions to how we're going to function our practice. I leave my day in certain intervals that I know I'm not going to get any work done because the unexpected is going to happen. I've stopped trying to say I'm going to get these 5 work pieces done through the day and I'm going to be so productive today, because what's going to happen is there's too much unexpected that's coming up, and then when I do that, I'm not getting my regular work done. So it's being realistic on a time frame perspective, scheduling myself less to do and leaving open time for work to come in. As far as things coming unexpectedly, it's one point when it's the document that I had no idea was coming. If you chose to send it to me Saturday morning and didn't give me the heads up, and I'm in Wonderland, sorry about your luck. I'm so sorry. I have a life. I got it. I appreciate it. Whenever I do check the email, I see it. Thank you. What is the time expectation? Always setting time expectation. When do you think you need this for? Here's where I'm at. I'm on the road all day. Will not be capable of. This is when I can do it. Being realistic on time. But otherwise, if something we've been working on a file for months, and the last big document's coming, and we got to get that closing done, we got to keep our phone open, right? So it's setting that expectation for timing. And mindfully, we are completed for now.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.